trying my best to be more professional with my microphone. So I am trying not to move it around too much. I am just speaking into it the way that you are supposed to speak into a mic, because I have been moving around my microphone a lot in the past couple of episodes, and when I edit, I'm like, I really wish I hadn't done that, because you can just hear like the clank, clank, clank sound. You know, this. Anyway, hi. Welcome to American in Peril, the podcast. My podcast. My name is Mackenzie Smith. I am your host. And today, I did, what do I want to talk about? Music. I just feel like there's a lot to catch up on in terms of music pop culture, and I just wanted to go through it. I wanted to just do a little rundown of what's been going on, because I think it's a good period for music. I said in a different episode, and like on my Substack also, that I think last year was kind of a weak year for music, which isn't to say there wasn't anything good that came out. I just think there was a lower frequency of good things that came out, and I felt that the pop culture aspect of music was weak. Like, there was nothing interesting going on, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was talking about one thing. Everybody was clustered into different microgroups, which is just how culture works now. But I like when we all have a thing to talk about. So I think you know where I'm going with this. We all can talk about Kendrick and Drake, which I think is a good thing. But before I get into that, I want to talk about my life. Just catch you up on things. I'm trying to stick to a more regular cadence of getting these uploaded. Part of that will be a slight decline in visual quality on YouTube. I'm no longer able to add text and images to the videos because I need to get these out on time, and that takes forever. So sorry about that, but this is a podcast, so you should just be listening anyway, and all of the sources will be down in the description. So sorry, I'm trying my best. If I ever get this off the ground enough to get an editor, you will get images and text back, but right now you will not. Sorry. So if that is any indication, things have been mildly shitty for me. Just work has been really tough, and I just have a lot going on. I feel very overwhelmed with how many like projects I'm working on, so I just I want to dedicate myself to this one. This is really important to me. I enjoy doing it. So this is me doing it. What else have I done? Not much. I said this last time, I bought tickets to Charli and Troy, the Sweat Tour. Very excited about that. But that's in October. So like, what do I even have go? Oh my God, I'm going to Ireland in a month. I haven't mentioned this on the podcast. I'm going to Ireland in a month. I do want to cover it on the podcast, or at least one visual thing you'll get is I would really like to make an Ireland like tour diary, I guess. And that doesn't make as much sense as an audio-only thing. So I'll be doing that on YouTube probably. Check that out. If you're on Spotify, I'll link that. And that is a place I've never been before. Maybe this is just because my algorithms know that I'm going to Ireland, but I keep seeing people going to Ireland on like TikTok and stuff, and I'm like, wow. Everybody else is like having this thought that we should all go check out Ireland, I guess. I have been to the UK. I've been to Manchester. Loved it. Big fan of Manchester. Maybe my favorite city I've ever been to. So I think Dublin will be also great. I have high hopes. I will say my only thing about Ireland that I'm not sure about is the beer culture, because I don't like beer. So if I go to a pub, I'm gonna have to order a different kind of drink. Beer makes my tummy hurt, and so does wine. So hopefully they have cocktails in Ireland, because I can't handle anything else. But we're going, it's with my family. We're going like up and down the coast and like checking out Northern Ireland. So North Ireland. The country is called North. No, it's not a country. It is a territory. It's called North Ireland. And it is part of the UK. I do know things. Oh my God. Also, I'm getting a rash on my arm. I've been getting rashes recently. Should probably check out what I'm allergic to, but whatever. Yeah, so that's really exciting. And I'm also going camping the week before that. So I'm pretty much off work for all of June, which is going to be really good for me, I think. And I really want to try to be off my phone. I am really trying to come to terms with the fact that I am addicted to Twitter in a really unhealthy way. I tweet all the time. I am always looking at my feed, and it makes me sad and mad, and I don't like doing it, but I don't want to do one of those lockdown app things because it just feels like I'm an addict to my phone, and I'm making more of a conscious effort to not do that. So it'll be good going camping where you're not supposed to look at your phone. No point in doing that anyway if you don't have service. And Ireland, I mean, I'll probably be on my phone, but there's going to be enough going on. It doesn't matter. I also have been starting these off recently with other things I've been enjoying. Some movies, actually. I've been having a really good, some good luck with movies recently. I watched Valley of the Dolls, what's her name? She died. Sharon Tate. That's my first Sharon Tate movie I've ever seen, and I really enjoyed it. It's like a camp classic. It's not good, but I did enjoy it a lot. It's very funny, and it's got a lot of good one-liners, and it looks great. I love a movie from the 60s. I just feel like the visual palette that pop culture was chasing after, like just picture like it's like mod stuff, like the opening sequence of like Austin Powers. That's what the movie reminds me of. So I just really enjoyed that, and I would really recommend you I'd recommend that you enjoy watching it. I recommend you watch it if you like stuff like Mommy Dearest, maybe The Room, like stuff that is like bad but in a fun way. It's great. I also watched Contempt, which is Godard. No, it's actually not Godard. He was involved. It's Brigitte Bardot, and I think it's a Vaden. I can never pronounce his last name correctly. It's from 1963. Oh, it is Godard. Okay. Anyway, Brigitte Bardot, she's the girlfriend of a film producer, and he's making a movie, and basically it's just couple drama while he's making a movie. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's another thing where it's like I enjoyed looking at it, so therefore I enjoyed the movie, and I'm like a visual like a stimulation baby. I like to watch the fruit jump up and down, and in this case the fruit jumping up and down was Brigitte Bardot. So I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. I also like French New Wave films because I enjoy the experience of watching a movie that is an essay. So that's always fun. Late Night with the Devil I also watched. I know there's a lot of there's drama about Late Night with the Devil because they used title cards that were generated by AI, like a Mid-Journey situation. And that, I admit, is not great. I'm sure it was like a budget cut situation, or like, we need to get this out the door. It's a last minute thing. We don't have a designer. I don't know what the decision making was. If it was just, I think AI looks cool, I think that's deeply stupid, but like, I'm also not going to not watch the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give the movie a chance. And I did enjoy it. It's like, this guy is a Jimmy Fallon. He's Jimmy Fallon in the 1970s, which I guess is not Jimmy Fallon. It would be like 1970s TV hosts. Why am I forgetting who that guy? Oh, he's like a Johnny Carson. And Johnny Carson invites a bunch of devil worshippers on the show, kind of. Like, this woman and this girl who, like, is possessed. So I guess they're not worshippers, but, like, she's been possessed, and, like, that's what we're doing. So everybody who's on the show has, like, some, like, connection to the supernatural, and things go into a scary direction. I did think the ending was kind of blah, but the journey of getting there, aside from the last 10 minutes, was really fun. If you like horror, go for that. I also have been watching the work of Lucas Moodysson, who is I think I'm just gonna guess Danish, Swedish. Scandinavian. These are things that I should look up before I start recording. Oh, he is Swedish. He has a lot of movies that people really like. I watched Lilia Forever and Show Me Love, also called fucking Amal. I think Amal is the name of the town. Lilia Forever was interesting in that I liked the characters, I liked the mood of the film, and I liked, I guess, what it was trying to do. It's about this girl in Russia whose mother leaves to go to America with her boyfriend and leaves her behind, and she has to figure out how to, like, survive. It's just a bunch of bad things happen to her. It's really sad. But I felt like it didn't stray into poverty porn, which is kind of rare for movies that take on these kinds of topics, like human trafficking and whatever, not to give any spoilers. But I thought it's another thing where the ending was just not good. Like, the ending was very corny to me. There's like this recurring motif of like angel wings, and I thought that was really, I didn't like it. It was a little too much for me. Also, some of the soundtrack, like, I liked a lot of the techno stuff, but there's like a recurring Rammstein song that I also found kind of obnoxious. So it was not a full win for me, but I do think it's interesting, and it's free on YouTube. So if you like international films about topics that make you want to pull your hair out, go for that. But I really enjoyed Show Me Love a lot more, which is about two girls that are into each other in a small Swedish town, and one of the girls is like severely quirked up and the other one is very quiet. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was really sweet, and it really captured, I guess, the malaise of living in a super small town. Not that I actually did grow up in a super small town. It felt like it at the time. It has like 20,000 people in it. But I really enjoyed that one, and I liked the quirked up gal a lot. Enjoyable movie, really funny. Would recommend that to anybody, especially if you are gay. Anyway, Kendrick and Drake have really gotten themselves into a little fight. I am a fan of Kendrick Lamar. I have had moments of my life where I am a fan of Drake. I like hip-hop. I am a fan of hip-hop. I try to keep up. I will say that Drake has a lot of songs that are bad, a lot of albums that are bad, but I also will stand up for Drake in that I think he has a lot of good stuff, and the good stuff is great. A lot of it. I think Take Care is a good album, for instance, and I think a lot of people attribute that specifically to The Weeknd. I don't know how true that is. I don't care that much, but I think it's a good album. So, just saying, I think they're both good artists. I do think Kendrick is better. Just laying all that out on the table. You know, that, like, so you know where I stand when I'm talking about this. I'm gonna give an outline of the beef, because it's sort of over now, especially by the time this is gonna go up, but I know there's a lot of people that don't actually know what's going on, and they just know that the song, like, they've listened to the songs and they're like, damn, that's crazy. But, like, there's history. Okay, listen, there's history, and part of that history is Poetic Justice, which is an amazing song, and I'm sad that we'll never, I'm not that sad about it, but we're never gonna get a song with them together again, probably. So, my understanding of the beef is J. Cole, another artist that I had a moment with, like, freshman year of college, and now I'm like, God, I don't like this, but whatever. J. Cole and Drake dropped a song where J. Cole says that he and Drake and Kendrick Lamar are the kings of hip-hop, I guess. I think that's disputable, but whatever. I think if I were Kendrick Lamar, I would be put off by it. I don't think I would care that much, because who really cares about the opinions of J. Cole? Not me. But I guess maybe Kendrick does. I will say I wouldn't really consider even Drake to be in the same category as J. Like, a J. Cole's like he's a non-factor for me. I know a lot of people like him, they think he's great. I would disagree. Here's the thing. Because this is what kicked off the beef, like, Kendrick clearly took offense to this, right? He doesn't want to be put in the same category as J. Cole and Drake. J. Cole and Drake are artists that kids listen to, and kids really enjoy. And kids, it's not that kids don't listen to Kendrick Lamar, but I think Kendrick Lamar has a much wider base of people that listen to him, and I think he is kind of precious about that, and that is where this all starts, I guess. What's weird to me is that that song actually came out in October of last year on Drake's most recent record, called For All the Dogs. And that album was not very good, but another whatever moment. From there, and this is like months later, this is this year, not in October, Kendrick addresses that line and Drake kind of in general in a verse on the song Like That, which is a song with Future and Metro Boomin. Metro Boomin being a producer who's big in the hip-hop world, Future being the guy who Percocet, Molly Percocet, that guy. Basically, you can boil it down to Kendrick addresses the line and says that there's no big three, it's just me. Anyway, sort of a like, don't talk about me moment. And I think considering, like I said, the quality gap between like a lot of the latest Drake stuff and Kendrick's latest stuff, understandable. I think that's totally understandable. And it could have ended there. J. Cole bowed out at that point. We haven't heard from him. And I just, I don't know. I don't care for the song Like That all that much. I think the beat's really boring and the verse is fine. I don't know. I didn't really think about it until all of this sort of continued to kick off and like be a thing. There's just so many moments, I guess, within this fight that I think, boys, you could have bowed out. Like, was it that serious? You know what I mean? Like, did you have to respond? Did you have to think about it that hard? And I guess the answer is that yes, they did. And I'm glad, because I like having a drama. But if it were me, right? If it were me, I would not be putting myself in this situation. So there was some silence after that verse was released. That was released on March 22nd of this year. Almost a month later, on the 19th of April, Drake puts out two, count them, two diss tracks. These are not verses, these are full tracks addressing the snub on Like That. The songs are called Push-Ups and Tailor Made. Tailor Made being Taylor, not like he had his suit tailored, bespoke, whatever. I want to be clear, once again, I'm technically on Kendrick's side in this beef. But I think that Push-Ups is not a bad song. Here's the thing about this beef. Also, like, by Drake standards, he's kind of been stepping it up a little bit for some of these tracks, which is like what you kind of have to do if you're going to put yourself in this situation. Some of the verses are fun in that song. Some of the critiques of Kendrick's like quality control are like relatively correct. Like no one really talks about the fact that Kendrick's career, I guess, I mean, they're talking about it now, but before that, like, Kendrick's career was kickstarted within the popular imaginary, big, like, mainstream culture by, like, collaborations with, like, Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift, basically. Mid-2010s, like, pop rap collab situations put together by labels, and they're songs that don't need to exist, but they exist. And it is kind of, like, a sellout thing for both artists to do that. Like, if you think about the song Payphone by Maroon 5, for instance, featuring Wiz Khalifa, it just feels like a product, right? Bad Blood featuring Kendrick Lamar feels like a product. And Drake, for what it's worth, has never done those. He's worked with Rihanna, but obviously that is like a very different situation. Very different. Oh my God, totally different story. Different situation. But in terms of pop artists, there's quality control. So I understand that. That's fine. Points to Drake on that, I guess. Like, but he also already had Degrassi money. Everybody always kind of knew who Drake was for some reason. Like, I remember, like, when Find Your Love came out, and it was like, oh yeah, that's Drake. And it's like, I don't know how that happened, but we just all knew who Drake was. Whereas Kendrick, like, there was time where you only kind of knew who he was if you listened to hip-hop very actively. Even then, he was kind of an underground artist, even, like, when Good Kid, Mad City was released. So I understand what Drake is saying. I also have sympathy for Kendrick doing these collabs because, like, you want to get your name out there. Anyway, see both sides of that. And then the second track, Tailor Made, a freestyle track that's now been removed from streaming, and it's, like, not good. I think it's not good. It has two AI-generated verses from Tupac, using air quotes liberally, and Snoop Dogg also using air quotes liberally, that are basically just there to say that Kendrick, like, dropped the West Coast rap torch, he should be embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. Which is not true. And then Drake comes in as like, well, you won't drop your response to this until after Taylor's new album comes out, because you need the numbers, and, like, you're cucked by your label, blah, blah, blah. Which Kendrick did wait until after the Taylor album dropped, but it's fine. Drake also does praise Taylor Swift at the end, which to me says that he's kind of afraid of her fans. I don't know. The whole thing is a bit silly to me. I didn't like that one. So at this point, Drake is like, well, Kendrick's gonna drop a response. Everybody's expecting Kendrick to drop a response. Like, that's the most direct diss tracking we've had thus far. And it, it goes for some weak spots in Kendrick's career, and it kind of makes him look bad, I guess, on paper, if you already were inclined to think about him as, like, a pop sellout, I guess. Nobody really thought that in the first place, and I think people probably generally think what I just said, like, with some sympathy of, like, well, sometimes you have to do collabs you don't want to do. I think Kendrick could have ignored it and come out totally fine, because people generally not very good on Drake right now. Like, I don't know, I feel like the stuff we'll get into later, Drake's image is not great right now. I just, Kendrick's discography is better. Like, he could have come out of it totally fine without responding to the person who made Way Too Sexy within the last, 5 years. But he didn't. He didn't ignore it. And instead he released Euphoria, which is another track that goes fully in on hating Drake. And I was waiting for an Uber the other day outside my apartment, and somebody drove by blasting, like, the part that's like, I hate the way that you walk, I hate the way that you talk. And it's like, that is so... If somebody wrote a song like that about me, and people were listening to it in their cars loudly, and people were going to bars where the song is... I'm sorry, I think I would probably kill myself. Like, it's a very damaging song to Drake, especially, like, it's still huge, like, it's still one of the biggest songs on the charts. I don't know, Drake has a stronger constitution than I. And then Kendrick follows that up again with 616 in LA, where I think this is kind of the first evidence that Kendrick must have a friend, or, like, a mole in Drake's friend group, or, like, camp, I guess, because Drake was already set to drop on that day, and Kendrick keeps hinting in this song that Drake's friends don't like him. And then Drake does drop Family Matters with an accompanying video, so it was premeditated because it takes a second to make a video. And then Kendrick also drops another track, Meet the Grams, after the video comes out. Rundown on these tracks. 616 in LA is basically like, you're a stupid fake bitch and I hate that, and so do all your friends. I don't know. It's like more shallow than some of the other diss tracks, but best line on this one for me, personally, is everyone in your team is whispering that you deserve it. Can't 2C slide up out of this one. I'm sorry. That's funny. It's the weakest out of the Kendrick tracks, but it's still fun. And it's got a good beat, and it's got a nice Al Green sample. And the title on the cover, it seemed to be a reference to O.J. Simpson, and then, I don't know. Drake didn't murder anybody, right? We're just doing that because he's, like, a creep? I don't know. Family Matters is also, I think, solid for Drake. Mostly notable in this saga for having a video, which tells me he thought this might be the last word on the topic, and that this would all be well received. And for the line, they hired a crisis management team to clean up the fact that you beat on your queen. This is the first serious accusation within the beef. Certainly not the last. It also includes the line, you write about fuck the big three, it's only Big D and there's video proof, which is crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. Like, I don't know. I hate to admit that I saw it, but I did see it. And if I were Drake, first of all, I think it's very possible that he or somebody on his team leaked the video purposefully. Because I guess I don't know. People talk about it. What I'm talking about is a video of Drake sliding one up the pole, and it is anyway, I wouldn't acknowledge it. I'm sorry, I would never acknowledge it. Very funny that he brought it up, but then Meet the Grams drops right after that, and that pretty much kills any momentum that Family Matters, I think, could have drummed up. Like, once again, proof that Kendrick knows somebody in Drake's inner circles. And the song's cover art is supposedly of items belonging to Drake. It's like an ugly print shirt, black gloves, and an Ozempic prescription, which is very funny, and details how Drake's children, should be disappointed to have him as a father. This is also, okay, probably a good time to bring up story of Adidon. Adidon. Drake's original major career beef was with if I can talk, Pusha T, who is also a better artist than Drake. I don't care enough about the actual beef to get into the timeline, but Pusha T ended it by putting out a track that features Drake in blackface on the cover. And then also revealed, truthfully, that Drake was hiding a secret child. Drake never responded, but he did cop to having a son. Well, he never responded in song form. He responded in interviews that he does have a kid with a French artist and former porn star named Sophie Brousseau. She is a painter. You can find her stuff online. Some of it's not very good, but she is a painter. This is all sort of allegedly, and like Pusha T pushes the narrative that Drake hid the kid because he, in songs and interviews before, has been like, I don't want to be a dad like my dad that wasn't there. And I guess maybe hid the kid because he was embarrassed or ashamed to have a kid with a former sex worker. Not sure how true any of that is. It could be a privacy thing. Like, maybe he just was like, I'm a big celebrity and I don't want people to know that I have a kid. Like, kids should have a normal life, whatever. It does sort of appear from the outside that Drake might not be the best dad in the world, doesn't spend that much time in France, for instance, but his kid, like, there's video of him with the kid comes to Toronto, like, I don't know. Making a lot of assumptions, assuming that somebody's not a good parent, so. And the kid's name is Adonis. It's the last part of that information. So maybe he's a good dad. I don't know. I would prefer to think that he is. But Kendrick would disagree, so he does basically the same thing as Pusha T's song, and outs a potentially second child. A second child has hit the Twin Towers. He dedicates a verse of the track to an unnamed baby girl, who Drake does not claim, apparently. Drake, of course, has denied this and said that he'll quit music if anybody says that they can find evidence of this. So it does sort of seem like it's not true. Like, I feel like Drake has enough people that don't like him at this point. It sort of seems like someone would have come out and said, like, hey, here's the kid, like, quit, you know? And nobody has. So, more importantly, and here's where the beef, I think, continues to take a turn and becomes not so fun, is the verse dedicated to Drake's parents. In that verse, Kendrick says that Drake has sex offenders on his payroll, and that his house in Toronto essentially acts as a quote-unquote embassy to traffic young girls. He says that Drake hates black women, that he's a pervert, that he wishes Drake's grandpa had worn a condom, that, like, it's not a rap battle, it's a battle with himself, which is all, like, insane. Like, once again, if I were Drake, I mean, it's over. So, as your podcast host, to address the above serious accusations, Drake does actually have a sex offender in his immediate circles. One of the artists signed to his label OVO is named Baka Not Nice, who also used to be a security guard for the label for Drake, and that Drake has been seen hanging out with openly many times. This guy has been convicted on charges of prostitution and human trafficking. Do with that information what you will. Kendrick followed that up the next day with another song making fun of Drake's penchant for minors. This one is more of like a club track called Not Like Us, which doesn't really say anything different than Meet the Grams, I guess, but it's like more streaming friendly, more club friendly, and has the amazing line, trying to strike a chord and it's probably a minor. Anyway, really good. Everyone expected Drake to not respond. Because why would you? It's over. Because, like, after the Pusha T beef, Drake did not respond. And I think it looked better for him to not respond. Because it makes you look more mature, right? Like, somebody else that you have a kid, it's like, okay, I have a kid, fine, you got me. Like, if anything, it makes Drake look good. But I guess Drake can't let this one go. Because he does respond one day later with The Heart Part 6, riffing on Kendrick's series of songs, The Heart Part X, which, like, I don't know. I think this song should have stayed in the drafts. I haven't seen anybody sane or reputable defend or praise anything that's going on here. He also accuses Kendrick of being a deadbeat dad, just throws it right back at him, and that the quote-unquote Epstein angle was the shit I expected. But, like, I'm sorry. He knows about the rumors of him being a creep. He brings up Millie Bobby Brown, what he was texting when she was 14 years old. We have proof of that. And that's not even the first time he's addressed Millie Bobby Brown. Like, it's not a real defense. It's just like, I can't be doing this because I say that I'm not doing this. When the evidence kind of does point to Drake having, like, weird connections with girls under the age of 18. Billie Eilish also admitted to texting him when she was 17, and I think it's weird. Personally, I think it's weird. If I were a teenager texting a 30-something-year-old man, Drake might even be in his 40s by now. I'm not even gonna check that because I don't want to know. I think it's weird. You shouldn't be texting anybody that is not your immediate family who's a guy in his 30s or 40s. When you're in high school, it's weird. Anyway, that's the Kendrick Drake beef. That's where we are still left off as of me recording this on May 19th. I don't think I have anything overtly unique to say about it that I haven't said already, other than, like, I do appreciate that this has revitalized popular music discourse. This is the first time in a second that, like, everyone is aware of some music related news going on, and here's the thing, everybody knows who Drake and Kendrick are, so it's a moment of togetherness, you know? And I think that's a good thing. It's sort of like HBO, you know how they release things one episode at a time, like normal TV? Like Euphoria and Succession were airing, everybody has something to talk about. It brings people together. I experienced things in Succession in real time with everybody else, and I think that's great, and I miss that. And, like, I think we need more of that as a culture to come together and, like, be friends. Even if the context of the conversation is a little dark, like in the case of Drake and Kendrick, I still think it's good, and I think they're conversations that are opening up, like, can people like Drake be doing things like this? Like, I don't know, is any of this even appropriate, blah, blah, blah. Which is super, you know, at that point we're moralizing, which I don't usually like to do. But it's a conversation. It's a conversation. And, like, I don't know, you can even be at work, like, oh, what? Check out that new Drake track that dropped. And, like, it's fun. It's just fun to have that. You know, I don't get that invested in, like, hip-hop beef usually, but the last one that I can remember personally, and this is barely beef, but, like, people talked about it, was, like, Miley and Nicki, and that was years ago, you know, where, like, everybody knew what it was, and, like, it happened on an award show, and, like, people don't even watch award shows anymore. Maybe we should all be talking about award shows again together as people. That's what I wanted to say about that. There is some other music news I did want to address, and this is for me and for the girls because I like her and it seems on topic for music discourse episode. Charli XCX released a new music video for the Brat single, Brat being her album coming out in June. The single is called 360. There's a video accompanying it, and I think personally that it's cute. Nothing to really get mad about. But I did see a lot of people criticizing it for being too sceney and in the know, I guess. Reason being, the song name drops two internet girls, Gabriette and Julia Fox, and the video features a range of, like, quote-unquote, like, it girls, like Rachel Sennett and Chloe Cherry, also Gabriette and Julia Fox, and very notably Chloe Sevigny, OG it girl for this kind of woman. Basically, the complaint is that, like, knowing who these people are or admiring them in general is sort of a sign of, like, internet brain poisoning, and they're, like, majority of them are models that, like, don't really have that much to say. Which is, I think, unfair. Like, all of those girls I've listened to interviews of, which I guess shows that I'm one of these people that is like, I think they're cool. But, like, they're all smart. Like, Julia Fox, for instance, I feel like does have a lot to say, and I would really like to read her memoir, actually. I've been meaning to go pick that up. And, like, I don't know, Gabriette does, like, cooking videos online. Like, she clearly has hobbies, and many of you guys don't have hobbies. I think it's weird. It's a weird complaint to me because if you are in a scene, for instance, and I would consider liking Charli to kind of come along with being in a certain scene online, or if you're in like New York or LA, like physically, you're gonna know who these people are, and like that video is going to be fun for you. And like Charli knows that, and like that is the point of having all those people in the video. Like it's a nod to your audience and being like, you like this, I'm friends with them, why don't we all just celebrate the fact that sometimes girls are cool? And like, it's not like the video is saying like, these girls are the coolest. It's like, no, girls rock. It's a girls rock video, in my personal opinion. I was listening to Nymphet Alumni, another podcast that usually does fashion criticism, history, but they were talking about the 360 video. They were pretty critical of it. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if you're an artist who is smart enough to self-reference and reference the culture surrounding you, like, you might as well do it. It's more interesting than, like, just having a boring video, or, like, never addressing the fact that you culturally belong to a certain kind of imaginary, you know what I mean? And, like, Charli does belong to this sort of, like, it girl canon, I guess. And I don't know, I would rather people acknowledge that and be honest with the fact that, like, they know where they stand within culture than be like, I'm normal, and I'm one of you. 'Cause she's not. And, like, that's something that I think we should all acknowledge. You know what I mean? And there's one other thing I wanted to address. Why am I now suddenly, like, blanking on that? I feel like I did, like, a really solid outline of Kendrick and Drake, and now I just, like, my brain blew up. Oh, this is the last thing I wanted to talk about. And this has a lot to do with what I said about culture coming together. There's been some discussion on Twitter recently, because that's where I spend my time and ruin my brain, about Payola, specifically about Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter getting recommended as, because Spotify, for instance, has a function where you can just, it'll keep playing music even after the thing you selected, playlist, album, whatever, ends. And many people have been complaining that, for instance, they'll be playing, I saw a tweet that was like, I'm gonna put on a Radiohead song, and then after, Espresso plays. So the running theory is that Espresso is being pushed through Payola. Payola being a label paying to have a song pushed to the top of streaming algorithms. And Spotify's algorithm is not truly random. They're open about this. It is influenced by Payola. It's influenced by your preferences. It's not a random shuffle, especially in the, like, continues to play music after your playlist is done. Like, it's gonna be music probably that is being pushed to the top for various reasons. And Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, they want you to hear about me espresso. So I've personally also noticed this with Chappell Roan. I'll put on a radio for an unrelated artist, or like what I think is like Azalea Banks, for instance. I'll put on Azalea Banks radio, and the first 3 songs that play are Chappell Roan songs. That's not a coincidence. Like, her label is clearly paying to have that album pushed to the top of these algorithms. And I do find that annoying after a certain amount of time, right? Because, like, I've heard, I was going to say Champagne Supernova, Red Wine Supernova so many times now. Little tired of it. I skip it every time it comes on shuffle now. And it gets played every time I put my shit on shuffle. I'm not tired of Espresso yet. I think That's That Me Espresso is, like, it's iconic. We've invented a new phrase. I'm fine with that being the payola right now. But I think that's, like, kind of an interesting, I guess, discussion to open up as a culture. Like, where do we stand on payola on streaming services? Because radio was all payola, right? Like, if you listen to the radio in the 2000s, if you are old, like me, all of that was being pushed, vast majority of it was being pushed to you by labels who wanted that song out there. Obviously, there's some disc jockeys that, like, would play stuff that they liked, and that's cool. That was gone for a while through, like, you know, people getting into streaming and being able to listen to whatever they wanted whenever, and, like, pirating and creating their own iTunes libraries, etc. Now, we're back to being so reliant on streaming that we've essentially recreated popular radio because of the way that Spotify operates. I don't know if Apple Music is the same way. I do have a subscription to Apple Music for some reason. This is really stupid of me. I don't pay for Spotify. I'm on my parents' account. But I pay for Apple Music because sometimes I want to listen to a song in higher quality, and Apple Music has truly like lossless audio, and Spotify streaming quality is not as good. So sometimes I'll just pop on my headphones and listen to Apple Music, you know. And but I don't listen to shuffle in there, so I can't attest to that. Maybe somebody in the comments here will. But yeah, I think Payola is both a good thing and a bad thing, in that, for instance, if Euphoria by Kendrick were a radio song, we would all be very tuned into the beef. And that would, you know, create more discussion, more connection between people. Espresso playing on everybody's playlists, whether they're listening to Radiohead or Katy Perry or Rammstein, I think that that's funny, first of all. But I also think that it's good that we all have a song that we know. Because it's, okay, here's the thing. I was thinking about this recently because I was like, my last episode I had talked a lot about Taylor Swift. I was thinking, like, when's the last time she actually did have a big single? It was Cruel Summer last year, I guess. I've answered my own question. But for this new record, if you didn't seek it out and you're not already a fan, like, none of those songs are popular. They're not radio hits. Like, yes, they charted big time, but if you're not someone who already is inclined to look at that thing, you don't know what the music is. And that's true of any artist, especially if they're not as popular. If you are an artist trying to break out in this world, you know, there's very little you can do besides Payola and social media to boost your visibility. So there's positives to that. Like, everybody knows about a thing. It's a great way to connect with other people. And yes, it does boost people's careers, which can be a good thing. Also, though, like I said, I think it can get very annoying as a consumer to have something pushed at you constantly. And that happened on the radio all the time, too. Like, when Umbrella by Rihanna came out, oh my god, it was everywhere. Like, you could not escape Umbrella by Rihanna. I'm tired of that song now. Even, I mean, how long has it been since Umbrella came out? 15 years, maybe? And, like, I'm still tired of the song. Like, sometimes you can really ruin a song for somebody. Which is, I think, what's happened to me with some of the Chapel Brown songs. So, you know, count your blessings if you're a label doing Payola. I think, also, shuffle should be truly random. You know? Like, it just seems like that should be the case. I don't like that everything is based on an algorithm. And that's sort of the thing with radio, too, that, like, is, I guess, a little bit better. Like, yes, it was all paid for, but somebody was still curating, like a person was curating the order in which things were played and, like, when they got played, and was probably, like, looking at actual data and making active human decisions. Whereas Spotify just gets fed a song that is supposed to play X amount of times with, like, a certain amount of chance of playing first or within the first 5 songs of shuffle. And it does feel very mechanical. Like, I keep getting fed the same shit over and over because the algorithm doesn't know any different. That's what it's been told to do. And I think that that's bad. So, I don't know. Where do you guys stand on that? Leave a comment or something. I just think there should be more opportunities for music to be truly, like, global and community building among, like, a mainstream audience. Because, like, I don't know, some of my favorite memories as a kid are, like, watching award shows, you know, watching, like, Lady Gaga bleed out on stage, paparazzi, or, like, Kanye doing Runaway at the VMAs, or maybe it's a Grammy, I don't know. And there's so little opportunity now to have that, especially, I figure if you're a kid, like, maybe your exposure to music is probably more singular and more about streaming, and it's not as visual, and I think that visual is very important. So that's just me. But it is nice to see some stuff kind of coming into, you know, everybody knows what it is territory. So that's all I wanted to say today. Pros and cons to both things. Like I said, I think it's nice that charli is leaning into being more exclusionary. I think if you're an artist who wants to promote that kind of image, like, that's totally fine. Not every artist has to be very mainstream like that. She's flirted with that in the past. Like, this album is not necessarily about that. But if you are a mainstream artist, you know, why not give the people something to talk about? That's my take. So yeah, that's my music episode. I'm going to go edit this now, and I will talk to you next time. Like I said, leave a comment about anything I said here and give your opinion. And don't be mean to me unless I deserved it, in your opinion. Love you. Bye.